Welcome, all you multifamily enthusiasts, to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment podcast. Today, we have a very intelligent guy with us, right? So, our good friend, Flint Jameson, spent 20 years in aerospace as an engineer and a program manager. The most recognizable part of his career is designing wing structure on a Boeing 787. So he finished out his career managing a $120 million program modifying aircraft for the military. You know, we like that because look, if you can control the skies, you can control the battlefield, right? So having some good aircraft above, it's pretty good stuff. So thank you for that, Flint. As a former engineer leader who endured a great deal of burnout, now he's on fire. Flint started building a new financial future for his family by purchasing cash flowing real estate in 2018. After his first duplex, he quickly pivoted into commercial real estate where he found the most efficient path to financial freedoms. Flint founded Vestas Capital to help educate others, leaders, in how they can grow and protect their wealth by passively investing in commercial real estate. Flint made a deal with his wife. This is a good thing. Make a deal with his wife to visit all seven continents before they had kids. Mission accomplished. That is a great
Mission
mission, brother.
accomplished. Yeah.
We like accomplish the mission. And look, super intelligent guy with a great track record in the corporate world, corporate America, and also in real estate. Now, the topic we're going to talk about today is build to rent. This is a asset class that became very popular over the years, not just in investments at our level, but also the Blackstones of this world are purchasing and developing build to rent. So we're going to dive into that topic today. So, Flint, before we get into that, man, do you have a favorite real estate quote or mantra that drives you?
I don't know that I have a real estate quote or mantra. I always the don't wait to buy real estate and wait. I think the classic that especially Brian Briscoe puts out there all the
Yeah.
time. It holds so much truth to it because a lot of real estate isn't a quick turn, get rich quick. It's about buying and holding. There's a reason a majority of the world's wealthy own real estate because there's so much to it. You buy it, you get tax depreciation, you get passive income. It's a fantastic asset. So just get it,
Yeah.
buy it.
And yeah, if you're a military veteran too, man, using a VA loan with zero money down, and even if you're buying a single family home, a triplex, duplex, four up to a fourplex, you get to hold it for after 12 months. You can move to buy another one. That could serve as a catalyst towards your financial growth. So you don't wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and wait. And I've done that. I bought a house and within 5 years, you get
Yeah.
to leverage that capital to ensure that you have no debt other than debts that's been paid for by others. There's a tenant in the house right now paying for that mortgage, right? And I can use the equity, and I've used the equity in that property to level up into multifamily properties to create more passive income. So renters paying a mortgage while the equity is also working to bring more passive income for me and my family. You can achieve that with single family and multifamily. We just like the multifamily because it's more hands off. So
Yeah.
Flint, is there anything that you're focusing on right now that you want to tell our audience about that adds to your bio?
Hang on. What I'm focusing on right now is I want to reiterate what you just said. For the military service members who can get a VA loan, you
Yeah,
guys have the ultimate hack to buying real estate and investing in real estate with that VA loan. Plus, I've worked with so many military members, and it's so great to be able to, you get moved around every 2 years,
yeah,
typically, depending, even no matter what branch you're in. But buy a property each place you go and rent out the last one because you're likely buying in an area where there's a lot of military service members constantly needing housing. So you will always have someone there to rent. It just seems like such a stable opportunity. So I think military members really have a leg up over those who can't get VA loans. So
yeah.
do it.
It definitely is too, man. And I think what a lot of folks are afraid of is being in a position where somebody destroy their property. But there are websites where you can put your property on that mostly military have access to some of those sites, right? So it gives you a group of people who are more responsible. Because look, a lot of us have a career that we want to protect, and we want to protect our reputation with our family, our business, but also our command and our rank, our branch of service as well. To Flint's point, if you're purchasing property that will attract mostly active duty military, then chances are another brother or sister service member is going to take care of your stuff. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. And it works both ways too, because you're looking for a service member who owns that property to be a really great landlord, but
Yeah.
also the person who's renting is going to be do right by the owner because they are being paid to live in that area.
Yeah.
It's,
Also,
it's great.
they probably own their own house in another state that they came from, right? So, you know,
Yeah.
so they want the others to take care of this. Outside of your bio, is there anything else that you focus on that I did not cover?
Sure. I did
Okay.
aerospace for 20 years and then yeah, now I'm here.
So in the build to rent space, brother, can you define build to rent housing and explain how it differs from traditional rental housing?
Built to rent is essentially we go develop a single family home community. It could be townhomes, it could be single family detached homes. But let's say we're going to go build 100 houses in, say, Phoenix. And we're going to make these townhomes. We're going to create a really nice, think of it like a class A apartment building, but we're putting in townhomes. So every resident gets to live in their own little house. We have dog walks or dog parks. We have all the amenities, pools. We make it like a really great class A multifamily property, but in another sense of saying it, it's horizontal multifamily. So we don't stack vertically, we stack horizontally with a bunch of single family homes. Benefit to residents is they get their own home. The residents tend to take care of it more as if it's their own home. They want a house to feel like a home. They tend to take care of it more, and they're newer. Okay, on another aspect to look at it, we need housing across the US. Housing prices continue to skyrocket, and the only way to tampen that down is to build more housing. On top of that, millennials, zennials, they're getting into these family formation years and they want to get out of apartment buildings, but they can't afford a single family home. So the best compromise is these built to rent communities, because built to rent communities are essentially starter home sized homes. Now the residents don't buy the house, they rent it, but at least it gets them into a house that feels like a home that they can build a family in. So it's the best compromise to them not being able to afford a home at the moment.
That's awesome, man. What other factors do you think contribute to the rise of the build to rent asset class in recent years?
After 2008, I saw a chart and I still am trying to find it. It showed how developers after 2008, when
Mhm.
they were creating a ton of starter homes, eventually after 2008 crisis, developers really stopped building these starter home sized homes. The reason being the margin they make on a starter home is so slim compared to making a bigger home, your 2,500, 3,000 square foot house, that developers were starting to just make a lot bigger houses
Okay.
because their margin was higher. That caused a supply problem on starter homes, which exacerbates the challenge that all of the younger generations can't afford to buy a home because the supply is so low on starter homes that the cheap
Mhm.
houses just aren't out there. Once again, build to rent is starter home size homes, but to the developer, if they can build an entire community, think of it as a commercial property. They're essentially building an entire commercial property and then selling for a decent margin. So they get their margin back by building the entire community as a whole and selling it as one full, as a single asset. So now it's helping developers to get back into the building the starter home game. The fun part is with build to rent is if the economy shifts in a certain direction where it doesn't behoove a property owner of build to rent to own 100 homes and they're just like they're done, it's there's so many exit paths
Yeah.
for that person that owns the whole thing. They could literally just partner with a real estate agent and start selling off individual homes, and now those homes are on the market for single buyers, or they could sell them off in tranches, sell five to a someone who wants to own real estate as their own landlord. So they could become rental properties, but for individual landlords. I mean, there's many different exit plans, which is also another exciting thing in built to rent.
No, that is super exciting. It's very comparable to a lot of folks in Hawaii. Like most of the apartment complexes in Hawaii have converted to condos, right? Because condos are
Yep.
pretty expensive. There's been significant growth, man. And I know my first exposure to the built to rent space was during the COVID pandemic, where a lot of folks that they wanted to get away from the close community, right? Not that they wanted community, but not so much the compact community of an apartment
Yeah.
complex. They move out and they will find these built to rent community, right, where they can get their own house or townhome, and they can not be they're not sharing the same hallway and elevators and stuff in a close proximity with others. A lot of folks are moving towards the built to rent, and a lot of larger investors they saw that trend and they capitalized on the trend, and it has become a thing where it's profitable for the developer, and also it's very attractive to Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah. The other fun part of that is the demographics that are moving to these are not only moving to a built to rent because they want a house, but they also there's a growing number of younger generation that just don't want to own the house. They don't want to deal with the maintenance. They don't want to deal with land. It's the lock and leave culture, as they call it. Oh, I want to go on vacation in Europe for 3 weeks. Who cares? I rent this house, property managed there. They'll take care of it. Now you're also seeing seniors who are empty nesters and their kids are having babies, grandkids, right?
Mhm.
You're seeing them sell their house, move closer to their grandkids, and just getting a built to rent house because it's smaller. They don't need the square footage, and they also don't want to take care of it. So we're actually seeing two very different demographics migrating to built to rent communities.
That's great, man. Additional to the exit strategy, we can dive deeper in the exit strategy as well, right? Why is built to rent considered an attractive investment opportunity for real estate investors?
The properties I've been involved in
Yeah.
are they're a quicker turn on your investment than say your multifamily value add. Because typically your multifamily value add, we say 5 to 7 years for a 2x multiple. With development, we're looking for 2x multiple in sub 3 years. Now you're
Yeah.
taking on more risk because you are getting into development, but you can theoretically build 100 homes in less than 3 years. So once you get in, you build, you stabilize, and then you sell off, and investors get out with their big returns.
Can you dive into a financial matrix that indicates that an investor should consider when evaluating a built to rent?
Yeah, getting into the underwriting, like looking at the numbers a little more. So this one is more on projections in the future.
Right.
I'll always do projections in the future, but there's no established cash flow and basic business revenue that you can lean on here. So with development, you're looking more at 3 years in the future. Will this thing be worth selling? And with that, you want to know that there's going to be a super strong business base. You want to know that there's a wide variety of business. Your salary median is going to be good, that there's community growth, that local economy has got to be booming and expected to continue to boom. So what we're doing in Phoenix, Phoenix is a booming place. They have so much tech industry from Intel putting in now like a $5 billion plant. TSMC is equally putting in something, call it 8 to 10 billion. TSMC is a chip manufacturer. They're coming in and they're building a massive plant, and they're going to need workforce to keep that going. And they're going to take 3 or 4 years to fully build these things out. But as they're
Right.
building them out, they're going to start hiring people because chunks of it will be done, and their economy is going to be booming. You have all of the self-driving cars, vehicles, the AI, all that stuff is happening, and they're moving to Phoenix because it's become a hub. So that economy is going to blow up, and we are getting ahead of the game because we're starting to build now near those areas where they're going to need a ton of housing. So that's kind of wrap your head around the best way to look at it.
Absolutely. So understanding the demographic shift in the area, understand the growth, job growth, right? So population growth, job growth, income growth, and also the growth in the price of housing, right? Because all those things correlate with the supply and demand for more rental units, right?
Yeah.
No,
It's an interesting thing. Just to throw this out there,
yeah.
as we're looking at these properties, because you never know what the cost of materials and labor is going to be.
Mhm.
And as we're getting into these builds, we're looking at it as our investor money goes in at the infrastructure after we have purchased the land, zoned it, entitled it, done all the engineering, permitted it. So the investor money comes in when we cut dirt. At that very moment, we understand the cost of materials because we are going to bulk purchase wholesale all the materials needed to build. So we know the price of the materials at that given moment that goes into the underwriting, say this is worth going, and then we hit the go button. So we're protecting ourselves from future growth on materials. With labor, we do our best to just project in a year from now, it'd be say 3% higher. But at least we're protecting ourselves and our investors' money out of the gate by doing that.
Got you. All right. So let's talk a little bit about operational and management consideration, right? So talking about development and construction, what are the critical steps involved in developing a successful build to rent project from the ground up? It's a big one,
Hey, partner with someone that knows how to build and develop. That's all I can
right?
say. I know how to build aircraft. I would say I'm still a novice at development. But what I do when I get in, I make sure that we're getting in with a group that has track record, that has done many full cycles, and that there's a team in place that has that background. That's their expertise. You got to make sure that you have that in the background because you don't want someone who's never developed before just be like, hey, we're going to go do this. We'll figure it out on the way. There are so many nuances. You have to have that track record. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed.
One of the things I like about the build to rent as well too is that it depends where the investor comes in. So the ones who are taking most of the risk, if they come in from land purchase, and even before the horizontal work has been completed, they can see a drastic increase in the value of their investment because you get the basic land just surveyed. And once you start building out the plan, once you start putting water, you start putting roads, you start putting power. Once the horizontal work is done, that drastically improve the value of your investment. So it matters where you come into that investment.
There's risk levels throughout, but you're
There
totally
is.
right because that land piece, this is why the land piece is the most risky because
It
you're
is.
dealing with the government having to give you the approvals. Yeah,
Correct.
you purchase the land. If you have to rezone it, okay, now you got to go and get it zoned. Got to get an engineering firm to start designing. Then you got to get all the entitlements. It is crazy. The environmentals, all, and it's just sometimes you submit a package to the government and it's going to take 2 months or it could take 6 months. You never know. So
Yeah.
that's where if investor, as an investor, you want to know what part of the deal you're getting into. In our particular properties, we're bringing investor money in at the horizontal where we're ready to start cutting dirt. So all those government approvals have been done
Yeah.
because you never know. That land could take 6 months or 2 years.
Yeah. That is also how a lot of people are purchasing land, get it rezoned, get it properly surveyed and properly rezoned, and then sell the development plan
Yep,
to
land flip.
yeah, to a developer. So there's so many different ways to make money in real estate. And I love it so much, man.
But you're right.
So
Every time your
every
value
step,
goes up. It's
100%.
awesome.
Yes, sir. In the multifamily space, right? For the value add opportunities that we've been a part of, one of the biggest catalysts relies in the business plan is to ensure that we have predictability of service, right? And one way we do that is by identifying the best costs for the best quality. And the way we do that, we go directly to the suppliers to ensure that if we go into 100 units that we want to renovate, say 100% of the units, the distributor already understand we need this many light bulbs, this many outlets, this many countertops, cabinets, flooring, paint, and we can control costs from inception of the property all the way through the business plan. I trust that the developers are doing something similar where they're going directly to suppliers.
Yeah. So we chose a developer who actually owns their own lumber,
Okay.
including forest land. We control it there. But then beyond that, and when you need countertops and
Yeah.
all the mechanicals and stuff, you go wholesale it. You buy it all. And that's where we work with them that we buy it. I don't want to say 100%, but a majority of all the materials needed on day one. We at least put those contracts in place with the suppliers and say, we're going to need faucets a year from now. We're paying for them right now.
Yeah. That's a good edge against inflation, right? But also controlling of quality and also price to ensure that the property can be profitable as projected, right?
Yep.
All right. So,
So here's another fun part that we're doing because we're building so many pieces of property over the next 10
right.
years. We're using essentially the same engineering plan, the same floor plans. That way, we already know what it takes to build these. We aren't getting creative and putting different new looks and properties. We are keeping it very, it's going to be boring from the people that on our side, oh, you built the same property in a different piece of land. But you know what? That's the cheapest way to do it.
hmm Yeah, and predictability it matters too, right?
Yeah.
That usually leads to profitability if it's controlled properly. Let's touch on property management real quick. What are the unique challenges and opportunities in managing a built-to-rent property compared to traditional rental properties? Or
Yeah,
it's very
it is not quite the same.
right.
Ideally, you end up having a property management company that knows how to deal with these. It's more a single family rental. You do
Mhm.
have unique roofs, especially if you're detached. You have your maintenance on the property not as centralized. If you look at multifamily apartments, I just walked one that has boilers. You have a central heating system. You have one place to go fix your heating system. Houses, you have multiple everywhere, multiple roofs. And then your tenant base is slightly different. Hopefully, they care for your property more. So I think on the maintenance side, you're going to have less issues,
Mhm.
but it's more detached homes require a little bit more effort.
Okay. Gotcha. So as we come towards the end, man, let's talk a little bit about market trend. What are the current trend shaping built to rent markets and how might they evolve in the next few years?
Oh, interesting. We are looking at projections, or the experts are looking at projections on build to rent to continue on this massive upward trend. So you're going to
Mhm.
start seeing these pop up everywhere. Right now, in all the major cities, you're seeing them pop up, like Austin, Denver, Phoenix, Dallas. I think you're going to start seeing them popping up in smaller tertiary communities.
How might they evolve in the next few years?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the evolution of them. Build to rent is relatively new concept.
Mhm.
Not only smaller starter homes that are detached, you also see the townhomes, like I said. Some of these bigger communities, maybe if you're talking like 500 units,
Yeah.
you may end up having a community center that also has daycare, that has a remote office that you could rent. The bigger the community, you can really start put in a coffee shop. You can do a lot of really unique things, but I guess it depends on the location and the size of the community you're building.
Yeah, I think that'd be a sweet thing, man. In an environment where the school bus shows up and drop off the kids at the community center, and that is already built in as a part of the management system where you live there, and there's a fee associated with if you have a child that's going to utilize a daycare and also cover the staff, medical, all the different requirements that comes with running, say what's somewhat of a daycare or after school care, like all these things. I trust that those are things that are already been talked about in the built to rent space. Of course, it
Yeah.
comes with its own liability, but it's at the same time, when you think about the structure that you usually rent built to rent houses, right, or townhomes, there's usually a family element associated with that as well, too, right? So
Yes.
if the amenities are already there, I think that's a good thing as things become more expensive and people working more than one jobs, or even if they have a, what do you call it, a remote work, they still
Yep.
have a place in the community where they can take their kids and know that the kids will be taken care of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sure it's already happened in some of the bigger communities. That's why I've heard of it, but I
Okay,
haven't
gotcha.
seen it yet.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the built to rent that I've seen is just the housing, the house,
Yep.
and maybe a dog park and walk
And a
space.
pool.
All right, so let's talk about some practical advice for investors, man. So getting started, what advice would you give to an investor looking to enter into the built to rent market for the first time?
I think as you're getting into it, I don't give any different advice than I would on multifamily. It
Okay.
really comes down to, do you trust the operator and what's their track record? So in this scenario, how much have they built? Who's the general contractor? How much do they know? Is the general contractor one who's used to building these one-off luxury homes and now they're going to try to build 100 starter homes? It may not be the right fit. In our scenario, we are partnering with the largest build to rent builder in Phoenix. You're probably the right people to go with. Another thing, I really like that builder has skin in the game.
Yeah.
So I've seen it in multiple ways. On one aspect, they have invested $1 million of their own money. Another is where they sign on the loan. They have skin in the game simply because they're on the loan. I think that it behooves you to make sure that the builder cannot simply walk away easily. They got to have some sort of skin in the game.
Yeah. Behoove is one of my favorite military words. We use that. all the time. But I know growing up as a young Marine, I used to hear that all the time. What the hell does that mean, man? I had to go look at it. For the listeners, that is a challenge. If you like this episode, feel free to comment and give us your best explanation for what behoove means.
Yeah, send everyone so they'll have to watch to figure out why behoove is in the comments.
Yeah, it behoove of you. All right. So, Flint, I want to thank you for joining us on this podcast, man. We're going to go into the fire round, the focus round. What do you do for fun, Flint?
Gosh, I skiing. I used to mountain bike all the time. Now that I'm in Virginia, I don't mountain bike at all. But it's mostly around kids. I got a 6 and 8 year old, so we
Okay.
went to Great Wolf Lodge this weekend, just for my kid's birthday. I mean, that's whatever keeps the kids happy is our thing.
What is one opportunity that was a game changer for you?
My second deal that I got involved in was I did a fund on a portfolio of 3 properties. As a young budding capital raiser, I raised on a single deal, and then the next one, someone's, hey, Flint, you could do a fund of fund on this $30 million raise. What do you mean? I'm still new at this. And they're like, no, you could probably do it. And so I did it. This is where you can't get into your head thinking, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Just think that I think I could probably do this. What's it going to take? And take the action is to get there. And you may realize you can get there. And I did.
So, what is your best communication tip?
Oh, stay humble. I
Okay.
that's as a manager of many people in my prior life, I think humility, because when you're surrounded by aerospace engineers, you're never the smartest in the room because there's always someone smarter. And so you always got to listen, including the younger guys. They always have great ideas. So stay
Oh, yeah,
humble.
they do. They're just super smart. What is one thing you wish you understood earlier?
Take action sooner. I think I had analysis paralysis. It took me forever to really jump into the game of syndication. If I jumped in 2 years earlier, I held myself back thinking I got to be an expert in all things. And then I realized I was never going to get there and I just have to take action.
Got you. To what do you attribute your success, Flint?
My wife, one, the
That's a good
supportive
thing.
wife,
Yeah.
first and foremost. And then two, it really comes down to partnerships and getting to know people. That's really the only way to massively grow because when you're going solo, good luck.
Yeah, totally. We love a team concept in the Marine Corps. And one of the things that I tell my Marines all the time, the best team that you need to create is your team within your household, because that gives purpose to a lot more things and it also creates the environment, the mindset, the focus for you to accomplish so much more outside of the household as well, because you now have a why that is bigger than just yourself. Create a great team at home and build the rest of your career around that. All right. So, Flint, if listeners want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'm all over social media, LinkedIn,
Right.
but if you want to get straight to my website, you can go to investwithflint.com. It'll take you straight to Vestas Capital. Invest with Flint's just easier to remember.
Got you. All right. Listeners, I want to thank you again for listening to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment podcast. Until next time, happy investing. I'm Hutch, the Marine
Thanks,
Investor,
Hutch.
out. Thank you, brother.